Hello, everyone, and welcome to Redesign Your Life Today. I'm your host, Daniel Kobryner. I'm a mental fitness coach. And this podcast is about transformation. It's about people who have really transformed their lives, who have a story to tell. And it's about getting as well some wisdom, some tips, and anything you can get out of this conversation. This will be great. So I'm going to start, and I'm very happy and privileged to have with us Matthew Madrid. He's a very special guest. And Matthew is the founder of Emerging Minds Coaching, where they help growth-minded professionals turn self-doubt into decisive actions and conversations into connections. Using the human journal effect, confidence and connection frameworks, and a bit of Stoic practice and NLP, he coaches clients to clarify their message, strengthen their mindset, and communicate in a way that's confident, ethical, and effective across sales, leadership, dating, or daily life. Inside his program, you will find some playbooks, life role plays, weekly workshops, and he focused on 11 sessions that turn insight into repeatable skill. Without further ado, welcome, Matthew, to this program. And this was a short version of introduction, but I'd like you to kind of introduce yourself. And the first question is really, you are a coach now, and what's your story? How did it all start, Matthew?
Well, I well, thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that. That was very nice. And I really do appreciate being here. The I guess it all started when I was young, right? I had an interesting experience that I felt kind of shaken by, right? My my grandfather had passed away, but we were in a house and it was like me and him and my mother and my grandmother, my uncle and my aunt. And he kind of went into cardiac arrest. My mother was a nurse, so she started doing CPR and everybody was freaking out. And I didn't even know how to react, to be fair. It was weird. It was new to me. And so my mother started compressions and then they called the paramedics came, right? And I saw how calm, how cool and confident they were in the proximity of that.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, I have to do that. I need that kind of, confidence in this life. And so in turn, I went to school to be a paramedic, you know. I went to school to be an EMT and then I ended up having to go to school to be a paramedic. And then I worked as a paramedic for about 10 years. And in the proximity of all that, talking to so many different archetypes, different types of people, different personalities, different levels of confidence in each individual, you learn so much about the human condition and how to navigate it and how to communicate with it. And so within the, experience of that, I was reading quite a lot and I was just putting it all together and trying to come up with a way because I was also going to university at the same time. And
Mhm.
so when I was in university, I was like, okay, I'm going to study psychology. And then I was like, well, that doesn't explain everything. I'm going to go into sociology. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't explain. So I kept changing majors until I eventually landed on literature because if anything encapsulates history, psychology, thought process, it is literature.
Mhm.
And I think that it's just the beautiful thing. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Primo Levi, right?
Yes, yes.
It's one of my favorite books of all time. And I actually wrote an entire thing on it because They re-changed the name. So instead of Sequestro Yonomo, if this is a man, they changed the title to Survival in Auschwitz.
Hmm.
I don't think that that's right because it takes away the actual meaning that Primo Levi wanted to navigate. And so I've been trying to study the human condition. He was very good at it, actually, studying the human condition. So for that,
Absolutely.
we thank you, Primo Levi. Yeah.
Okay. So this was really kind of your inspiration. So you are a paramedic. I mean, you learned that, but what's the next step afterwards? Because now you kind of go more in coaching, if I'm correct.
Correct. Yeah. What happened was I worked a lot, like a lot. I lived literally at work. I had a bedroom, everything. But I wanted a family
Mm.
and I knew I couldn't do both. And so, I ended up meeting my wife and I decided I don't want to be a paramedic anymore. And so her and we started a business together. We had a kid. We got a little girl and she's got a French name, actually. Her name is Madeleine.
Oh, Madeleine. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice
And
name.
so we just kind of started our businesses, worked our way up, and we were making pretty good money, did a lot of good investments and stuff like that. And then I decided that it would be opportunistic to maybe share some of my knowledge because I did do international sales as well, actually, between the United States and Canada. And talking to people is just kind of a forte of mine in communication. So what I did was I took all of the knowledge and I found citations to package it into, something that's digestible. And I tried to keep the language as simple as possible so that way, people of all different education levels are able to digest the information. You know,
Very, very interesting. And, of course, I resonate with that. See, for me, sales, it's always about people. It's about communicating. It's about being interested in people, but genuinely interested, not with something in mind. It's you do this
correct.
because you really like discovering about people and how they live and what they need. And see, when we have this kind of relationships afterwards, it's really about building trust, but trust on solid foundation. And as we know, trust cannot be commanded.
Exactly.
It's built stone by stone
Exactly.
with our actions. And yeah, as I was sharing with you just before this interview that I had this kind of calling to become a coach because I realized that I had coached people all my life. I had coached teams. Really, the idea being to how can I help people empower themselves and get the better of themselves and really thrive in life. And I had the chance to do that with my some of the bosses I had, and I'm so thankful to them. And I wanted to make sure that everybody has the same opportunity. So this is a bit of my story. And now coming back to you, Matthew. So you've
Mhm.
got this method which you created, which is emerging minds coaching. And then I was
Yes.
quite intrigued, by what you call the human germal effect, confidence and connection frameworks. So can you kind of guide us a little bit in this area?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I can I can explain it a little bit, but I can give you an example. So the
Mhm.
human journal effect is utilizing questions and space. And so, like, for example, I asked you, how's your day going? And you could tell me, how was your morning? And from there, I can navigate. So let's just role play real quick, if you don't mind, just to give
Okay.
an example of what
Okay.
the
Yeah.
human journal effect looks like, right?
Sure.
So I can ask you, how's your morning going, Daniel?
Well, now it's my afternoon, but my morning and my day has gone very well. Thank you.
I'm glad. So what made it good this morning?
Oh, well, different conversations, some coaching, and yeah, some good news as well happening. So
Well, that's
and
nice.
and enjoying the present moment. I'm very much into that space.
That's good. And this is, see, that's good example. See, now you're utilizing me as a journal. You're thinking about what you're telling me. So now you're reflecting, but I'm guiding the reflection because I'm asking you the
Mhm.
specific questions. That's the
Absolutely.
human journal effect. And
Yeah.
it's very effective in all relationships and being able to communicate, like, friends, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you know what I mean? And even family. But by doing that, people like two things. And I wrote a book about that, but it's about how to kind of navigate conversations. It's about the two things. People like to talk about themselves, and people like control. If you can give them those two items, you gain their trust and you gain their attention, because now you are no longer just an active listener, you are a stage for them to perform. And if they can perform on that stage, they feel seen, they feel heard. And if they feel seen and they feel heard, they feel in control. And as long as they feel in control, then now you can help them navigate themselves. And that goes back to the human journal effect. So they become like, they're rebounding their ideas off of you. You know how, like, a lot of people like to talk to themselves? you know, they just kind of pace around and just have conversations like, well, like, it's like there's like a duality in their head, but you become the opposite duality, and it helps them understand themselves. They end up solving their own problems, and that sticks a lot better than you telling them what to do. Unwarranted advice never solved any problem because nobody's going to take it. It's unwarranted.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing this. I mean, it resonates so much because obviously when people ask me about, coaching, what does it involve? And I said that the first thing, it's about providing a safe space where people can express themselves vulnerably without the fear of being judged, of being criticized, or of being given unsolicited advice. So it's not about us, it's about our clients. And when they feel that they can speak, perhaps for the first time, this is when the magic happens because, I mean, everyone has a lot on their chests. And this is, I think, perhaps one of the biggest problems in humanity that people don't have anybody to talk to. Even if it's a spouse, of course, if it's a good relation, it's great, not a problem. But sometimes, imagine there's a problem in the relationship and you try once and you were turned down. Oh, how do you do? And this is where I think we intervene there to provide this
Hmm.
really safe space.
Yeah, self-understanding. And that's also too why I utilize Stoic principles, because it goes into the foundation of, we can't control everything around us. The only thing we can control is how we interact with it or how we perceive it. We can and this is where the neurolinguistic programming comes in, is we can recreate the narrative. Instead of saying like, oh, they blew me off, they don't want to talk to me. Like, like, and instead of getting upset about it, you can just say like, maybe right now they got something going on, and we'll give them a little bit of space, and then we can maybe revisit it later when their mind is a little bit more clear. And instead of beating ourselves up about it, we take the appropriate amount of space, because it's not just for us, it's also for the people around us too, you know. And so putting all of it together, being able to navigate that, you can create connection, because I'm friends with literally everybody that works at every store that I go to regularly, you know. And it's simple. It's as simple as me asking, how is your day going? You know, and
Exactly.
it starts it.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. And even, when we walk on the street and we smile to someone, this can just make the day. I mean, imagine these people are in a difficult situation, just to smile, just like, wow, and so for our listeners, can you just define really what NLP is? And perhaps even
Yeah,
stoicism, if it's all right, because obviously,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course.
for
So, neurolinguistic programming, or NLP, it's that reframing narratives. So when we talk poorly about ourselves to ourselves, and it builds up and it builds up. And before you know it, you start believing the story that you're telling yourself. You say, I'm shy, and you say it enough, you're going to be shy.
Mhm,
You say, I'm not smart. You keep saying it, you will eventually not be smart. Instead of saying those things, you can reframe it and then challenge that narrative and start telling yourself a positive one. So I'm not shy. I'm learning how to communicate.
mhm.
I'm not dumb. I'm learning as I grow so I can become the smart person I want to become. And it goes on and on and on. I mean, you can reframe all types of things. I even wrote a little children's book because my daughter's 4 years old.
Mhm.
So I utilize that reframing in that children's book, and it's called The Brave New Spark. And so she can identify it through her spark. So the more confident she is, the more sociable and kind and generous she is, her spark gets bigger. But she can imagine it now. She has something to think about, and it works. It helps her be kind and generous. She's literally friends with every single kid in her class. And because of that, I applaud her. You know, I'm very proud of her, but she's utilizing it. And she herself is just perpetually positive. And
Beautiful.
and she's only 4, you know?
But am I correct in thinking that she's learned a lot from you and her mom?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's, you see the and you see, perhaps for the our listeners, Matthew, can you explain how the first years of your life are critical in terms of getting these beliefs? I'm not good enough, I'm shy. Because people don't really always understand that.
Exactly. A lot of times, and this goes back to Erickson and PJ, so cognitive and also psychosocial development. So the early years in life, we start creating the map for how we're going to be. And it's up to the individuals that are helping us navigate at these young stages where we are naive and we do not understand. It's up to the parents, really, but once you get older, all of that dirty knowledge is built into you because you grew up with it. So the only way out of, self-doubt or insecurity is to reflect on where it came from. Yeah, sure. But you don't want to get hung up on it, because if you keep getting hung up on it, it's going to keep navigating its way through your entirety of your life. And you need to learn how to reframe it and say, like, you know, they just didn't understand. See, like, my mother was a young mother. She was 17. And I never really enjoyed my childhood in that context because she was 17. So the way I look at it is, she was 17. She was still a child and she was trying to figure things out. She didn't even know who she was at that point. So I can't hold it against her, and I
Mm.
can't hold it against myself. All I can do is be my own person, be my own human, you know. So it's just like that. But the developmental stages are massively important, because I remember my childhood and it wasn't all bad. It was just kind of like haphazard, it's thrown together, like we'll figure it out. But that's exactly what it was, figuring it out. And so it'll be the same with You know, any human being, we all have a childhood. We all grew up a certain way. There's certain things that guide us or influence or affect us, certain relationships. And I think having a mentor is always good, you know. Find other outside influences that help you expand because everybody thinks differently. I don't want to hang out with people that just agree with my parents. Sometimes I want to talk to people that have their own ideas and their own opinions and see that the world is a lot broader. And I think all children need that. And I think all people in general need to sometimes reflect, reframe, and not self-victimize, realize that you have the power. It's already there. You just gotta reframe the narrative. Once you do that and you do it long enough, it will stick. And that goes back to the neuro-linguistic programming. Neuroscientists actually say it goes back to the conversation about talking, how people like to talk about themselves and people like to talk about just anything that they have passion in. It can be interesting, it could not be interesting, it doesn't really matter. But the neuroscientists actually say that when people talk about themselves, it gives the same neural firing as like having sex or eating a good meal.
Mhm.
That satisfaction. That's the thing that people want. If we can give that to people, then we can communicate effectively. If we can communicate effectively, then we can feel more confident in our, I don't know how you would call it, but just our conversations, ourselves. We don't have to feel left out. Everyone's always afraid of like being that outcast. You know, you go to a party, some social gathering, everybody is afraid to like go talk to people. I talk to every single person in that room. I will shake their hand and I will introduce myself. And I will ask every single person the same exact question. Hey, how's your day going? You know, keep it
Then,
simple.
yeah, and then you can have quite a lot of different responses, even
Exactly.
from the same persons, depending on the mood, on different things. And
Exactly.
see, I was sharing with you just before that, as a mental fitness coach, I help people uncovering these little voices which are not them, which we call saboteurs. And these are these programs running on autopilot in their minds. Like the first is the judge. We all have it. We judge ourselves, we judge others, we judge circumstances. So, and afterwards, some people are more controllers. They want to control everything. Or some people are more people pleasers. They want to please everyone. Or some people are perfectionists. I mean, like I was a big perfectionist, right? And all these saboteurs, which we think is us. No, these programs, they originate in our very first years where these were strengths. And this strength, we use them for survival mode, to deal with our parents, to deal with others. But this strength were transformed into weaknesses because they were overused and abused. So the idea is afterwards is how do we realize this, these negative beliefs, and how do we transform them and go into the right part of our brain, which is the sage part, where we can train our brain through mental exercises to change. For instance, it's the big difference, obviously, between reacting and responding. This is stimulus. It's about breathing. It's about taking a step back. It's about being grounded, being in the present moment. And there are a lot of different tactile exercises or hearing, but all of them have one common point. It's really the ability to ground ourselves in the present moments and to quiet down our mind. So
Absolutely.
I guess it resonates with you because I
Yeah,
suppose, yeah,
absolutely.
in your toolkit, Matthew, there must be some of these.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is true. Because a lot of times people like to be confrontational, but they don't even understand why they're doing it. It comes out of fear. And if we don't react to that fear in these other people, then we're not feeding it. It's just like a plant will not grow if you do not water it. So the more you react to those actions, the more you're feeding it and giving it some kind of legitimacy in this world. If you want somebody's behavior to change around you, say you've got a wife that likes to yell at you. Well, if you react to it, she's gonna yell even louder, you know. But if you just say, like, okay, I understand, and you stay calm, 20 minutes later, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be like that. You know, they come around because you change the narrative. You make them see themselves. You become a mirror, so to speak, because now they realize they're the only person yelling in the room.
Exactly. And you see, and thank you so much for sharing this. Something comes to mind because I know I learned a lot over the past few years. I changed a lot, and there are two things which really changed my life. Is first this sentence which says, "Don't take things personally," and this is like wow, because by default, these thoughts that come from our the reptilian part of our brain, this reaction. There's a danger. What do? We we fight, we flight, or we freeze. Then, when we come into this sage mode, when we learn that this is when really things are changing. And I remember when first I heard this for the first time is that whatever people say to us, even whatever people do to us, it's got nothing to do with us. Nothing. It's only them reflecting their fears, the childhood trauma, the insecurities, the doubts.
Yeah, and we get to learn a lot about them through the proximity of those interactions.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and, and, and you see, Matthew, the other thing, and I remember because now I'm trying to apply it. You see, when we are triggered, because again, this is like people know how to push our buttons. But when what you realize, what is a trigger? A trigger is an emotion sitting within us which has not been healed. So now, whenever people trigger you, instead of going at them and having a go, I really like this little technique which says, say to them, even if it's not loud, thank you. Thank you for reminding me that I need to look inside because something is not yet healed.
I like that. Yeah. And that goes back to the NLP, actually, you know, reframing the situation and turning it into a learning experience. It's like, yeah, thank you for showing me that I have a little bit of rage and I need to reflect on it. You know, I need to figure this one out. So I appreciate it. Thank you. You know, and they're going to be a little bit aghast in the beginning. They're like, well, what? But it'll make them think the same thing too.
Okay, and you see, perhaps an area I'm going to ask you a question, if it's all right. It's
Hmm.
if you can advise our listeners what it is to heal your inner child.
Oh, it's a good one. Honestly, the best way I could say is imagine that you can have a conversation with yourself as a kid
Mhm.
and you can speak with yourself. Write down, journal, of course. Write it down. What would you tell yourself? Write a note or a letter to your inner child and let them know how you feel about them. And then also let them know that everything is going to be okay because we will get older, we will get smarter, we will get stronger. We will have more experiences in this life than we would ever even imagine. So, buck up, little guy. You're going to be okay. You know, I think that journaling is a powerful tool. And I think that self reflection and having conversations with different versions of yourself, because I mean, think of, 5-year-old you versus 16-year-old you. One didn't even care about girls. The 16-year-old you was getting his heart broken because the girl didn't like him, you know what I mean? But it's like, but back then it seemed so powerful as an experience, but the reality is it's not. So that doesn't mean that nowadays you have to be shy around girls or guys, whatever. I mean, whatever people's preferences are. I mean, the key is just be you authentically every day. And sometimes you do have to put that child's mind away, you know. I wouldn't say like kill the nostalgia, but at least you gotta break it down and, understand where you came from, but don't live there still. Become whoever you want to be. Your imagination is literally whatever you want. Like, you want to be a painter? Go learn how to paint. You want to be a singer? Learn how to sing. You want to be a dancer? Learn how to dance. You want to be a Lothario and get all the girls? Then just be you, and you will do it. It all comes to you with comfortability.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's really beautiful the way you express it. And
Thank you.
see, one word, of course, resonates a lot with me is authenticity. To
Mhm.
everyone who is listening here, we are all born unique. We all have unique abilities. So, and I know it's not easy, but the more we start to accept ourselves the way we are, without judgment, and we are not perfect, perfection doesn't exist, but the more we do that, the more we are going to have calm, serenity, and the more we are going to apply this to other people. So it's really about, and again, some people might like you, some people might not like you, and it's absolutely fine because it's really about interacting the people who resonate with you and just and yeah, do that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you kind of triggered a thought too of mine is we need to not have false expectations of ourselves. I think the more we spend time on social media and comparing ourselves to other people, and the more time we watch television and compare ourselves to actors, actresses, and the characters that they're portraying, they are literally just written characters. They are not real people. And we identify with it. And sometimes they can spark inspiration, but a lot of times it can spark doubt. And sometimes, like, say there's a nerdy character that's real shy and real meek and whatever. People want to label themselves as that. So it kind of becomes more confounding for them, and they start to believe and start to create that narrative like, oh, I'm just like that guy, I'm just like that guy, I'm just like that guy. So before you know it, yeah, you are just like that guy because you found some weird sick inspiration in it. But there's a whole dynamic. But yeah, either way, yeah. But yeah, I think people need to just learn how to be comfortable, and it takes time. It's not something that you just like flick a switch and the light turns on. It's just you put in the work. And honestly, a lot of my clients, like guys that want to get girls, right? They're like, I'm shy, I'm uncomfortable around girls. Go to a bar by yourself and go make 3 new friends and see how that feels. Then they do it, and then they come back with a girl's phone number, and before you know it, they got a date. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, it's so powerful. See, one thing which is so important to understand is that the past doesn't determine our future. It's really the actions which we take today. And this is what I love about transformation. We can transform literally at every moment. It's a question of mindset. And as well, very important, it's a question of stepping out of our comfort zone. Because if we do what we've always done, it's Einstein would say the insanity is to think that you are going to have other different results. So we have fears, and we all have fears. But when we master fears, when we do the first step, we've got to realize that our biggest growth is just on the other side of our biggest fear.
Exactly.
So
Very well put. Yeah, very well put. Yeah.
it's very powerful. And Matthew, I'd like you to tell us a little about the books, because you've written different books, if I'm correct.
I have.
And
Yeah.
I would like
I
you to tell us a little about that.
okay, will do. Yeah. So I got him behind me. But where am I on the camera? So there's the power of connection, how to guide any conversation. And that one, it's pretty much, it goes into helping people frame while you're speaking with them.
Mhm.
And it's a good tool to utilize just in any kind of social environment. You can guide a conversation by asking very specific questions that you want the conversation to go. So if I ask you, how's your day? That's a simple opener. Yeah, sure. And you tell me, well, it's good. And well, now I can start turning that into a different conversation. You know what I mean? To where now we're talking about where you grew up, and now we're talking about what your childhood was like, and now we're talking about are your interests? What do you want in life? You know, like if I ask you the simple question, like once I get you to that comfortable state, I can ask you, what is it really that you want in life? You know, and then you could tell me, and then now I know more about you. So power connection, it teaches that. And then becoming secure. It's about the same thing that we were talking about, the childhood development and understanding where insecurity comes from and understanding how to overcome that and why it's there in the first place. And that it's really just a small subsidiary. It's no different than you stubbing your toe on a curb, you know, it's the same thing. You know, it's just a small little nuance that you're putting too much value into. Imagine you stub your toe and then you just get hung up on it for the next 30 years. You're just like, oh, I stubbed my toe that one day. I can never walk again. You know, the small little things. And then this one, the polymath's path. It's like to unlock your genius. So it's like all the old Renaissance people, right? Like look at Leonardo da Vinci. He was an artist. He was a musician. He was a philosopher. He was a poet. He was a writer.
He was an
That's
engineer, created planes
he
and
was a,
everything.
yeah, exactly. See, that's the polymath. Taking different practices. See, like you were saying, we all are born with skills, right? We all have skills as we grow up. But the thing is, we don't just have one. Take all of those skills that you have and you put them together. Then you can create new content. You can create new things in this world. You can actually become a creator by utilizing that strategy, the polymath's path.
Wow, very, very powerful. I mean, there's so much we could
I know it's a
discuss.
lot of content, sorry.
We
And
could
then I have
discuss.
one other book that's published, but it's the memoirs of a paramedic. That one's kind of a long read. These are more like they're journals. So inside of them there's prompts and things. So they're workbooks,
Yeah,
essentially.
you see, if I just may, one little comment about your book, the first one, The Power of Connection. And
Hmm.
see, when we start having a conversation with someone, and yes, first it can be a little superficial. I mean, but then it's if we want really to have a connection, it's got to go a little deeper, right? So, as you said, Matthew, it's about asking questions about, but of course, very important when we ask questions, it's without an intention. It's not, it's really just curiosity, just to get to understand the person. And what I realized that if we really want to go a little deeper, we have to be the one who starts the conversation, who starts sharing ourselves vulnerably. Again, does it feel uncomfortable? Of course it does sometimes. But you see, but when we do that, then just sharing and then asking questions, the other person will feel much more secure. All right, you speak about this, I can speak about that. So, sometimes we wait for other people to do the first step to try, but you know what? Sometimes we wait forever and we are frustrated
So
and we don't know. So, and we don't know what is in other people's mind. We don't. The
correct.
only person we can
And
control is ourselves. So let's be brave and let's go forward.
exactly. And it's kind of interesting is because you might feel insecure to start the conversation and you're waiting for somebody else to do it. Maybe that other person feels the same exact way. So you're just at some stalemate where you're just staring at each other like, well, what do we do? The thing is, somebody has to initiate. So be confident, be bold. Bold, I guess would be the word to use, but be bold and just take a chance. What's the worst they can do? Tell you,
Exactly. But
I'm
the
not
worst,
interested. Okay,
don't
it's
reply.
fine.
This is fine. And you see the word which comes to mind, and I think it's one of the important attributes of leadership. It's courage. We need to
Yeah,
have courage. So you said bold, yeah,
always.
but we need this. It's like, because if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it for us. But when we do it, this will create as well kind of I don't know, respect, perhaps beginning of trust as well. We've got to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have
So
to, take chances. This life is too short to not make the most of it. Like you can do all types of cool stuff if you just put yourself out there. I mean, there's so much that you could do. You want to ask your boss for the raise? Just ask them, see what they say. If they say no, they're going to fire you because you asked for a
ex
raise.
exactly. Actually, they will never fire you for to ask for a raise. They will just think, oh, wow, okay. Because actually, and this is a very good point because I've lived that as well.
Hmm.
Sometimes you think, oh, I'm doing a great job, I'm going to have something, and nothing's happening. And you think it's not fair, but and bosses will tell you that actually, even if they feel doing something, some would do, but some will says no, they want you to go forward. So again,
It could happen. Hmm.
it's all
Yeah.
about psychology. And so, Matthew, I want to thank you so much because it's been such a fascinating conversation. I think we'll
It
have
has
another
been good.
one at a given time. But
Merci beaucoup,
mais
monsieur.
écoute, tu es le bienvenu. And perhaps last question. If there were like three tips you would like,
Okay,
a piece of advice you would like to leave our listeners with before
absolutely.
we close, what would it be?
I think the key is one would be reflect on your past and dissolve it. So write a story to yourself or a note or a letter to your younger self so you can maybe even forgive yourself for anything or even forgive the people that you feel like have held you down or done anything. That way it gives you an opportunity to reflect effectively. The other thing is, as we were saying, do do exercises of challenging yourself. Put yourself in situations that you might feel uncomfortable with, but there will be learning on the other end. That's a big one. Like even if it's going to a bar by yourself and making three new friends, easy enough. Or just smiling at people on the street or having a conversation with the person that works at the local shop, doesn't really matter. Everybody that you meet, you should at least greet pleasantly and ask them questions. Start putting that into practice. That way it becomes just part of who you are. And then thirdly, with that, learn how to reframe not just yourself, but other people. So not only are you helping yourself in the proximity, you're also helping other people while you yourself are learning. The more you do it, the more it just becomes a utility. Like no singer just was born and became a great singer. They learned because they put it into practice over and over and over. Nobody's born with raw talent. We have to learn that. It's a skill. And so being a human being and being a good communicator and being confident, these are skills that we have to develop and we have to put them into practice. If we sit on our couch or we sit on the bed and we don't talk to anybody, then we won't do it. If you're listening right now, I urge you to at least call somebody and just start asking them questions about their day, asking them questions as per that and lead it into something. Just try it. It's not going to hurt. Call a friend, somebody that you're close to that you're comfortable with, and just learn the skill. And before you know it, you'll be able to do it with everybody.
Well, thank you so much, Matthew, for these words of wisdom. And so, anybody who would like to be in touch with you, Matthew, what's the best way?
Um, well, you can always find me on Facebook and message me, add me, or you can always, I guess that's probably the easiest way. I don't know. It's like you could email me, but it's kind of complicated. So,
We'll put all the details anyway in the footings of the
oh,
episode.
okay, yeah. And then if you want to purchase any of the books, they're published by Barnes and Noble. So they're on, you can just go barnesandnoble.com, type in my name, and you'll find them. I'm getting ready to publish about 3 more right now. So I'm hard at work over here. But
Well, look, thank you so much again, Matthew. It was a beautiful time, and I really hope that our listeners took a lot from this conversation. So thank you, everyone who is there. And at the end of this interview, I hope you find some insights, and I'm looking forward to seeing you during the next episode. Thank you. Bye bye.